Okay, friends, this is the Oz report for February 16th, 2025. And as usual, let's go over to our dashboard and possibly in-game as well to talk about Plex and Plex adjacent items. And the big story here that Plex is rising again, and there's one clear reason, and that is because the starter packs that are one-time purchase only, they're on sale not only in the cash store, but also in the New Eden store. I wrote about this in the blog post on theoz.space. Those packs are, when they're not on sale, they are only good value if you buy the platinum pack or the bronze pack. 50% off, they're all amazing. So if you're looking, whether you're looking to spend ISK or real cash, and you haven't bought them yet, consider buying them. Very, very good value. If you are spending cash, of course, use the creator code Oz. You guys know what to do, right? To support the content, or use at least the code of any other content creator, because we get a share of the revenue. The platinum pack is the best value overall, and it includes 10 skill extractors. And so this has two massive impacts on the market that you might have seen if you're trading in these items. One is there's upward pressure on Plex again, because this is not a Plex sale, so you need real cash to buy the packs, or you need Plex to buy the packs in the New Eden store. And so we're seeing Plex up again almost 2%, but we're also seeing a significant drop in skill extractors because people are buying the platinum pack, which is great value, and they're immediately dumping the skill extractors onto the market. And so the biggest takeaway, if there's one takeaway from today's Oz report, then it is buy skill extractors now, okay? If you're looking at it in-game, check this out. This is the skill extractor graph, and it's very seesawy because we have sales and then recovery and sales and recovery. Skill farms require massive amounts of skill extractors to keep them running. And so this is a product that recovers quite quickly. And if we look at the market data currently, you can see that sell prices are at 527, but buy prices are sub 500 million. And that's because people are just dumping them. You know, some people just don't participate in market activities. Some people just buy the pack, immediately dump it to buy orders. And so if there's one thing you got to do is have a buy order out here for skill extractors, because if you can buy skill extractors sub 500 million, and you look at the graph right here, it's typically always recovers back to 550 million at some point. And that's an easy 10% gain on an item that, which has a trade volume of over 1 trillion a day. So getting rid of these is super easy. Getting rid of them on sell orders is super easy. And so if you want a solid long-term investment for higher volumes, then skill extractors right now are a massive opportunity. So that's one takeaway. The other thing I want to talk about today is Cerebral accelerators. So this is very strange, right? Because something happened with Cerebral accelerators that we have to talk about. First of all, we have the Master at Arms Cerebral accelerators. Now, I've been making fun of these for a long time, right? Because they were way overpriced, and the reason for that is this right here. The reason has always been, okay, let me share this. The reason has always been that you have to look at ISK efficiency, all right? And if you look at the ISK efficiency of these Cerebral accelerators, then we have to talk about this right here. Hope you guys can see this. Oh yeah, this right here. Fixing my zoom. All right. ISK efficiency in terms of Cerebral accelerators means that if you buy a Master at Arms Cerebral accelerator, you're paying just under 2,000 ISK per SP at current prices, okay? If you convert the ISK to Plex and buy the boost Cerebral accelerators in the New Eden store, then you're paying less, which means that at the current price, you shouldn't be buying Master Cerebral accelerators. You should be going with the boost. However, the price right now is very close, so you can say we're essentially at equilibrium right now, right? Another thing that we have to consider is that these brain-free Cerebral accelerators, they just expired. So the brain-freeze ones were event Cerebral accelerators that dropped from the Winter Nexus event, and they were extremely good value. Extremely good value. And they're out of the picture now. So I have to think that somebody thought, okay, the brain freezes are gone. What's the next best thing? I'm going to either stock up or buy them out for investment. And these Master Cerebral accelerators, they are good value as long as Plex prices are expensive. Because expensive Plex prices means that the boost Cerebral accelerators are more expensive. And they fluctuate directly with the Plex price. The Master at Arms Cerebral accelerators, they don't. They come from people recruiting other people into the game, and as a reward, getting Master at Arms Cerebral accelerators. So typically, more accounts being created and more new players being recruited means that the supply goes up, but it's only directly regulated by the price of competing goods and regular ISK supply in the game. And so if we go back to the in-game graph, we can see that lately there's been a massive buyout of Master at Arms Cerebral accelerators because comparatively they were cheaper. They were the most effective Cerebral accelerator to buy once the brain-freeze Cerebral accelerators expired. Now, at the current price, though, and you can see that I am trying to unload as quickly as possible because this is not going to hold. At the current price, they're again a little bit overpriced. So what my advice would be here, one is, okay, the 76 million buy price, that's okay. That's a very good price. Right now, you can probably arbitrate on both sides. You can probably trade on that margin. So put buy orders in and immediately sell. The volume traded is very high. So these are very, very popular. And so you can do some market play here. On the long run, though, make sure you don't buy at the current sell price, though, because those are way too expensive. There's one other weird thing going on with Cerebral accelerators, and that is the expert Cerebral accelerators. Some poor soul actually bought out the expert Cerebral accelerators. We can see that here. They were rising in price, which is just insane. And why is this insane? Because we're going back to our ISK efficiency graph. Expert Cerebral accelerators have a ISK per SP ratio of 7,000 on the sell side. So these are the most expensive ones you can buy. And honestly, you shouldn't buy these at all. There's no reason to buy them at all. The only reason they're still in the game is because they used to be tradable. They used to be given out for packs, and then you could trade them on the market. They don't really exist anymore, so the market has almost completely dried up, and they were just like a legacy item that was hanging around. Even for the highest SP players that pay a lot for large skill injectors, because the more SP you have, the less skill points you get from them. Even for them, this is just highly inefficient, right? Highly inefficient. You can see that they should all be using other Cerebral accelerators that are on the market rather than the expert ones. But some poor soul didn't know this, or for whatever reason, they bought out the entire supply. So this is skewing the market a little bit. So don't fall into that trap. Ignore expert Cerebral accelerators. They shouldn't be tradable in the market anymore, really. And there isn't a good reason for them to be out there. Why people have this $2 billion buy orders out here is beyond me. Like you shouldn't buy these at that price, unless there's really no excuse. the only real answer to that is, if you're thinking about buying these, make sure instead you're buying Plex and then buying the boost accelerators in the New Eden store, because they're just much better value all around, and they're better and more convenient, right? So don't fall into that trap. Now, let's go back to our dashboard and let's talk about other things that are going on in EVE Online. And that is mostly, let's look at, so moon materials. R4 moon materials continue to slide a little bit. They're just oversupplied in general. Same with R8. You can see the overall availability. There's 3.8 trade days left of R4s. There's 7 days trade days left of R8. R4 and R8s are oversupplied, partly because of Metanox adoption in nullsec, and they are still trading way below 52-week average. R16's up 3% this week and trading at 52-week average. And then we still have R32 and R64 moons rising in price and both trading about 25% over 52-week average. Minerals overall, we had a slight drop in minerals, and I want to take you guys to the details just because minerals is what everyone is talking about right now. If you look at basic minerals in detail, you can see that. So clearly, if we look at something like Zydrine or Isogen, we're looking at something, or sorry, we're looking at this number right here. If we're looking at Tritanium, Isogen, or Megasite, those are minerals that are trading at or below 52-week average because they're right now just not bottlenecked. The issue that we talked about earlier about the mineral price index as part of the MER discussion, the massive issue here is pyrite and it's Mexilon and it's Zydrine and it's Morphite, because those are all trading 50 to 150% over 52-week average, and that just shows how little of these minerals are available in the market, and they're just not matching the demand that is out there. Especially concerning, if we're looking at the overall availability, especially concerning is Morphite with only 1.5 trade days available in the Forge. Noxium only 1.9 trade days available, and then we have Pyrite only 1.6 trade days available. And while Pyrite did drop 15% from last week, when we were talking about the Pyrite panic in this Oz report, it's still way overpriced. So Pyrite is by far the biggest problem right now. And if you're interested in that discussion, look at the MER video that Angry and I recorded earlier to discuss the mineral shortages in EVE Online. All right, let's go back to the dashboard. Other than that, what we see, we already talked about Cerebral accelerators jumping up in price. If you have them, sell them. And if you still have the brain freeze ones, my condolences. Data cores are up 5%. This is typically a good sign for industry. Data cores in higher demand. That's good. If we're talking about tier 2 modules, overall they're up 2%. That is, Morphite price hike impacting tier 2 manufacturing. Still, though, I don't get tired of saying it. Don't let the high mineral prices, make you run around EVE like a chicken with a head cut off. Don't fall into the Reddit trap of, everything is terrible. We still have a lot of affordable resources in EVE Online. Finished goods prices like ships are not massively impacted by the mineral shortage. That is what is impacted is capital ships, super capital ships, and Titans, and tier 1 battleships the most, and some faction ships. Those are trading up, 10, 20, 30%, and hopefully with what we're discussing with CCP on the CSM right now, we can fix that sooner rather than later. But yeah. Structures up 3%, and we see that especially on the Oz report dashboard. If we're looking at supply drops, let's go here. You can see that. Make sure you guys can see that. There we go. if we're looking at largest supply drop, you can see that somebody bought out about 70% of the Athenors. So the Athenors are only at 30% of the supply that we had last week. So Athenors in very high demand. We already talked about the expert cerebral accelerators. Those were completely bought out. One interesting thing as well is that the Imperial Navy General insignia, one of my favorite trade items, is only is 60% down in supply. So that will tell you that somebody is trying to convert a lot of Minmatar LP there, and typically this is an indication of the war zone shifting, or a lot of Minmatar LP being generated and used because in the trade and at the LP store you need these insignias to turn them into faction items that you're buying in those stores. And so Imperial Navy General insignias down and spiking. Again, like last week, we were talking about these light entropic disintegrators. These are the Abyssal weapon systems that go onto the tier 2 one that go onto Triglavian ships. Lots of action going on there. And this week also interesting, the Nano Factory. So that's a P4 planetary good, and also 60% of the market bought out there. So lots of big market moves going on, and a lot of that has to do with larger battles. We saw several dread brawls happening in the last weeks, and so if you move over to what's trending up this week, we see that here as well. We see Dead Space items. You see the Corpus X-type thermal armor hardener up 100%. We see Pitham C-type medium remote shield boosters up 20%. Core X-type large armor repair again. I say this every week. Dead Space items, guys, great, a great item to trade in because they spike so heavily. The availability is not given, and the demand is spiky, and so that's very good to see. Interesting as well. Also, the Stormbringer, which is a staple raiding ship in Nullsec, is up 16% versus last week. So that's a good sign there for ships out in space. I want to quickly mention Technetium because we talked about the spike last week. Unfortunately, it didn't last long. So this was probably just one person or one entity stocking up and buying up a lot of Technetium in the short term. So we saw a very short-term spike and now back down 30%. So we're almost there where we were before in terms of Technetium. And the Ikatursa as well. We said that last week. The Ikatursa went up last week quite steeply because of increased demand. And it's going to fall back down, even though if we're looking at Abyssal material, so let's look at crystalline isogen here. Abyssal materials are still in very high demand and still rising in price. So crystalline isogen 10, you can see here, we are at a year high. 0-point condensate, also at a year high. And 0-point field manipulators, even they are recovering quite quickly from their massive oversupply. So, overall, this is a good news for those people running Abyssals. They are going to be making more money because their loot is worth more. This also indicates that you're going to see rising prices in Triglavian ships over the next few weeks and month, likely. That's already happening. If you look at Ikitursa pricing here, if you look at Leshak pricing here, if you look at Nurgle pricing here, they're all rising in price, and they're following the abyssal material and basic material price trends. Okay, let me look at my notes if we've forgotten anything. Massive jumping all over the place today. Give me a second. We talked about that. yeah, I think that that about wraps it up. We're going to return to the regular stream, and I will see you guys next week on the Oz report. In the meantime, you can check all of these numbers on theoz.space if you want to catch up midweek.